Do you want to grow your own vegetables but you're not exactly sure where to start? Seed starting is much easier than you think. In this video, I'll show you how to start seeds at home so you can grow fresh vegetables right from the start. I'm Mylan Turner, an urban gardener here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm one of the ambassador gardeners with Bootstrap Farmer. Let's start off by talking about why you would want to grow seeds indoors. The first key reason for me is variety. You're not limited to what the transplants are at the store or the local nursery. For example, this year I'm growing brassicas, and I picked out two varieties that'll do really well in small spaces. One is the Fioretto cauliflower and the other is the spring rapini broccoli. And both of these are sprouting varieties of broccoli and cauliflower, meaning instead of getting the one big head like what you normally see in the grocery stores, you'll get a continuous harvest of smaller florets, which works better for me. The next benefit to starting your own seeds at home is cost savings. When you go to the nursery to pick up your starts, you're generally going to spend around $3 to $6 for a start, or even more if you buy some of the larger pre-potted plants. Whereas one pack of seed is about the same cost as one plant. The benefit though is that you get way more seeds. I'd estimate that's about 30 cucumber seeds. So that represents significant savings. One more benefit is that you get to control when and how your plants grow. You can control all the inputs from the start, from the mix to the fertilizer, ensuring that you're organic all the way through the grow. Some of the more common vegetables that you can start at home are tomatoes, cabbages, eggplants, peppers, and a lot more. Next, let's talk about what you need to start your seeds at home. First and most obvious, you're going to need seeds. Choose high quality seeds from a trusted source. I like to pick varieties that are specifically bred to be grown in my area. You can do the same by shopping at seed companies that are in your area. The next thing you're going to need is containers to start your plants in. Today I'm going to go over 4 containers from Bootstrap Farmer that I use in my seed starting process. First up are these 6-cell trays. I really like these because they have slits and holes in the bottom which allow the roots to air prune. What that means is when the roots hit these openings, instead of circling the container, they signal to the plant to grow more roots, which gives you a much healthier start. You can really grow seeds in any of these 4 size containers, but what I'm going to go over is just some of my more general recommendations. I like to use the 6-cell trays for growing smaller seeds such as herbs, or if I'm growing a big number of peppers and tomatoes. The next container I want to show you are these 4-cell trays. Now these are really my favorites when it comes to tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants because you don't have to pot up from the 6 cells as quickly. Over here I already have eggplants, tomatoes, and peppers, and you can see they're doing really well. But you're not just limited to nightshades. Brassicas and cabbages do great in these as well. If you're only growing one or a very few number of plants for your crop, then I recommend these 3-inch pots. These are super handy if you're growing a wide variety of crops and they have different germination conditions. So let's say you're starting brassicas and nightshades. Your brassicas are going to typically germinate faster, so you can pull them out of the humidity dome one by one as needed. I don't typically start seeds in these, but they come in really handy when your plants are going to be indoors longer than you anticipated them. Then you can take them out of like the 6 cells or the 4 cells and then up pot them to the 5-inch pots. That allows you to continue to get strong root and plant development without stunning your plants. The next thing you're going to need for starting your seeds is potting mix. Look for a lightweight, well-draining mix. For starting seeds indoors, I recommend avoiding garden soil. Bringing outdoor soil indoors can bring in pests, and that's just a recipe for disaster. The next thing you'll need are labels and markers. Always remember to label your seeds. No matter how well intentioned you are, you think you're going to remember what they are, but odds are you're going to forget. And while you can use markers, I like to use these printed labels so that I can reuse my labels. Next, you're going to need something to water your seeds. You can use a watering can or something like this sprayer, which is really gentle and precise when watering plants indoors. When you're first getting them started, you can just do a gentle mist over the top. And as you can see, that doesn't disturb the soil. Another way to avoid disturbing the soil, and my preferred method of watering indoors, is just adding water to the base of the 1020 trays and allowing that to soak up through the soil. Grow lights are extremely beneficial if you're starting seeds indoors. You might try to use a sunny windowsill if you have a south-facing window, but I find that the light is just filtered too much and that the seeds get leggy searching for light. Here in my grow rack, I have LED lights that run for 12 to 16 hours a day on a timer. Another option if you're starting your seeds outdoors is a greenhouse like this. Strong light is key to starting off with healthy, sturdy seedlings. One item that is optional, but I find that it does help with starting seeds indoors, are humidity domes. When placed over the top of the 10-20 trays, they trap moisture in, and that just speeds up germination. One more item that's optional, but I find that really helps with germinating seeds, is a heat mat. If you're starting your seeds indoors, your house temp is probably going to be somewhere around 70 degrees, and that's great for most crops. The exception to that is going to be your nightshades, your eggplants, peppers, and tomatoes. They like soil temps anywhere from 75 to 85 degrees, and a heat mat is great for getting to those soil temps. We're going to start seeds for 3 crops today: basil, tomato, and cucumber. I'm going to start the basil in these 6-cell trays. Start off by packing in the soil, lightly tamp it down, press down with your thumb to depress the soil, and lightly cover again. That process is going to be the same for all your containers. Once the containers are full of mix, I like to lightly water them in. This helps the soil settle down, and then the seeds make really good contact with the moist soil. Basil seeds are really tiny, making them a really good pick for the 6-cell trays. Simply sprinkle a few in your hand, and then pinch 2 or 3 in each cell. If you're planting different varieties of the same crop, label with the variety as well as the crop. In this case, I'm only doing one, so we're just going with basil on the label. The same goes for the tomato and the eggplant. The next crop that we're going to plant today is cucumber. Since these are a larger seed, we're going to sow 2 seeds into one of the 3-inch pots. Lightly depress the seeds in place. The depth to which you plant your seeds is going to vary based off of the seed size. For small seeds like basil, those want to be really close to the surface. Now we're going to plant our tomato seeds. Because I like to grow a lot of tomatoes, I'm using the 4-cell trays. In the case of these 4-cell trays, I'll alternate between 1 and 2 seeds per cell. So here I'm just depressing slightly and adding a bit more mix. Put that in and lightly cover. Once the seeds are covered, you want to come back with the water and water them in. As you're waiting for your seeds to sprout, it's critical that you keep the soil moist. You don't want it soggy and sitting in water, but you want the consistency of about a damp sponge. Check your soil daily and then water as needed. Now let's talk about caring for your plants once they've germinated. The first task is the one that I enjoy the least, and that's thinning out seedlings. In a case where you have too many seeds sprout, you're going to have to decide which one to keep so that you get a strong, healthy plant. So what you want to do is pick the seedling that's the healthiest and then snip the other at a base with a small pair of snips. On a day like today where we're outdoors and it's windy, you can see the plants blowing in the wind, but they don't have that airflow indoors, so add fans to your setup. If you don't have a fan, you can gently brush your seedlings from left to right, and that'll help the stem strengthen up as it grows. In the case of seeds started in these 6-cell trays, they're going to need to be transplanted anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. If it's warm enough for your crops to go outside, you can go ahead and transplant them outdoors. But if it's still too cold for your plants to go outside, you can consider bumping up from the 6 cells to the 3-inch pots. And if you started out in the 4-cell or the 3-inch pots, for plants that are started in the 4 cells or the 3-inch pots, if it's still too cool, you may need to up pot to these 5-inch pots. Before we wrap up today, I want to go over 4 common mistakes with seed starting and how to avoid them. One mistake a lot of gardeners make, myself included, is overwatering your plants. Because you start from seed, you love on them so much and you can overlove them in some cases, and it'll actually damage your plants. The next mistake is one that I made with my very first basil plant. I wasn't giving it enough sunlight and it got leggy. And what that means is you get this long, weak stem for where the plant is just searching for sunlight. As your seedlings mature, you're going to get the itch to want to get them outside and ready to grow. But don't rush, and be sure to avoid this next mistake, which is not hardening them off. I'm going to be honest, this to me is one of the most difficult parts about starting seeds indoors. Because the grow lights aren't as intense as full sun, you can't just take them from the grow lights to the full sun. Your plants will burn up. So hardening off is the process of giving them gradually more sun each day. You can do this over the course of 3 to 7 days depending on the weather. In my case, I have a rack on the back of the house that gets partial shade in the later parts of the day. So I take them outdoors and just increase the amount of sunlight they get each day, and that helps avoid transplant shock. The final mistake is one that we already talked about, and that's using the wrong mix to start. Again, start off with potting mix because it's light and that it just gives you a higher rate of germination. I hope that this has answered a lot of the questions that you have about seed starting. More importantly, I hope this video has encouraged you to try it on your own. So pick a few of your favorite vegetables and start seeds at home. If you have any questions about the process, please drop them in the comments below, and like and subscribe to the video for future updates.